Blessings, beloved. Jesus is the way and the truth and the life, and no man cometh unto the Father but through him. You might know that I've been in the High Court. I was first given adult behaviour warnings under sections 113, 114, 115, and 117 of the Criminal Justice Public Order Act 2006, all of which are unconstitutional. They were to be tested. It was scheduled for them to be tested in the High Court. But before that, a civil order was put in place. The maximum term is 2 years. So it was put in place for an indefinite amount of time. So one must assume that they were looking to put it in place for 2 years. Totally unreasonable and far-reaching. Then I had a reasonable excuse not to comply with it, so I didn't. And they attempted then to criminalise me for not doing so. All of that stuff has been shown to be unlawful, according to the judge's extant ruling. Now, there is this period of time to appeal that ends today, so it'll be seen today whether the judge's ruling will be carried to completion. And what has transpired before that is that I appealed the decision of the district court in the circuit court, and what was happening at that time was there had already been a submission to the High Court to test the constitutionality of section 115 and 117. My counsel told me section 7 would be tested as well because it was in other jurisdictions seen as too vague in its wordings. Offensive and insulting can be subjective, so that needed to be tested. That wasn't even entered into the schedule by my counsel, so I was failed on that front. Then section 115 and 117, I wasn't told that it didn't reach the schedule either. Section 115 and section 117 were scheduled. They're actually in the schedule of the court. They're still in the schedule. But the testing of the constitutionality of those sections 115 and 117 was abandoned midway in the case, even though the basis of the circuit court adjournment was that the circuit court judge wanted to see what the High Court would say about the constitutionality of sections 115 and 117, because the appeal would be dependent upon the finality of the judge's decision or the High Court's decision with respect to the constitutionality of those sections. That was the whole basis of the adjournment in the circuit court. So then, therefore, it must be carried through by the High Court that those sections be tested. Otherwise, they're abandoning their schedule, which is effectively what they've done. They've abandoned their schedule and told me that at the same time that in some way they can abandon the constitutionality of the sections, but see that I was treated unlawfully at the same time. But anybody who has logic can see that this is logically inconsistent. When you see a schedule that says we must test the constitutionality of the sections based upon an adjournment, based upon what has been submitted to the High Court for testing, and they say, no, you must check that yourself. Why? How can I be sure that next time I bring it to the High Court that they'll actually test it or not abandon it halfway through the case? If something's brought to the High Court, they have to test what's scheduled. Otherwise, they're not fulfilling their office. They didn't even make me aware that they had failed to do so. This is a complete abandonment of proper procedure in the High Court of Ireland. This shows corruption. I mean, it's no longer a matter of, is the Irish High Court corrupt? We're seeing the corruption of it. We're seeing it fail to do basic tasks and then put that back on the lap of the individual. My counsellor saying, oh, that's back in your lap. But you won, well done. Like a pat on the head, well done, you won the victory, even though it hasn't been completed yet and there might be an adjournment or an appeal put in today, technically speaking. But how is my counsel able to tell me that I've won anything? This is a big victory for you, they told me. I'll read the email. You know, most of the time you say, well, we give people, so to speak, the benefit of the doubt, because we won't have evil suspicions of people. But when they actually show that they've been incompetent and failed to actually carry out their office and normal proceedings, then we have to call them into question and say, what's happening here? because I have a duty to my fellow Irishman to ensure that these proceedings have occurred properly. Hi, Stephen. The matter is up today remotely to deal with the issue of costs. That means they're not meeting, it's done over the internet. To deal with the issue of costs. Once the time period to appeal expires, so the time period hasn't appealed to expire, but listen to what they say next. You will get the return of the bail money. So that's a €1,500 surety that they wanted from me. €1,500. It is still open to you to issue plenary proceedings to challenge the constitutionality of the legislation. Why would my own counsel, who was supposed to bring those proceedings to challenge the constitutionality of the legislations, tell me that it's still open to me? Should I assume that next time I bring them to have them tested, that they will actually be tested? Why weren't they tested this time? None of that has been discussed. None of it. They've utterly failed in basic function. The Circuit Court adjournment was based on the fact that they would be tested. They failed in that. It wasn't my will. I've already brought it. Was he not representing me to bring it before the High Court? He was. Why should I assume that next time he'll do it? Why wasn't it done this time? It was in the schedule. You can check that on courts.ie. It's in the schedule. It's first on the schedule. They abandoned it and didn't even tell me they were abandoning it. Why should I assume that next time I bring it, they'll actually do it? And why have they failed to check Section 7 when I was told, oh, that's a very good idea to test Section 7. Actually, in other jurisdictions, they've removed the word insulting from the section. So it goes to show that there was a move all across the earth to do this, and not just in Ireland. So this was an organised thing worldwide to bring this subjectivity into offence, because the spirit of offence is not one of God, it's one of the enemies of God. So it makes sense that if they're going to do a land grab, it's going to be organising across the entire infrastructure of the system. But you cannot bring something so subjective into law, because it opens the thing right up for corruption to take over. So he's telling me that I've won, but it's not confirmed yet. Because he goes on to say, this was a good win you got, and don't lose sight of that. It's a big deal winning this case. I'm sorry, how have I won this case? Nothing's confirmed yet. You haven't tested the legislations. What's the victory? That I'm not going to prison, even though I was perfectly innocent? That's a victory? How is that a victory by any stretch of the imagination? When the constitutionality of the legislations weren't even tested, when that was in the schedule, that's an absolute failing of the High Court. Imagine a High Court of Ireland failing to do what they're supposed to do in the schedule, what they said they would do. That's like somebody who's supposed to clean the toilets, not cleaning the toilets, and saying, well, you still have the opportunity to clean the toilets. You still have an opportunity to bring the cleaning of the toilets forward, or to request somebody to clean them. If you are there to clean the toilets, you clean the toilets. You don't put it back on the lap of the one who asked you there to clean the toilets, who employed you to clean the toilets. And actually, it's my counsel's job to bring the High Court, to bring it together, to do the testing, and the schedule said that was going to occur in this case. Now they abandoned it, and they're putting it back on my lap. Oh, it's a victory for you. Put it back on my lap to test the constitutionality of those sections. Are you seeing the level of corruption here? How can my counsel expect me to believe that he has my best interests at heart when he's telling me it's a victory that I'm not in prison? When the court saw that my treatment was unlawful, how is that a victory? When the court actually failed in its basic schedule to test the constitutionality of the sections. That's what the adjournment of the Circuit Court was based on. Look at the degree and the level of corruption here in this country right now, in the High Court. Look at them. This was a good win you got. Do they think that they're going to use a man of God as a pawn in their game? And I would be just so chuffed that I wasn't going to prison that I wouldn't say any more. How is this a victory? This was a good win you got. A lawyer, somebody who's supposed to be a lawyer, is telling me that having the High Court fail to actually test the constitutionality of the sections that they brought before them to have tested is in any way a victory. That's like saying you did nothing wrong, you're not going to prison. What a victory for you. This was a serious victory for you. Don't lose sight of that. Of course they don't want me to lose sight of that, because then if I wasn't losing sight of that, I wouldn't be looking at their failings. Don't look at our failings. Look at the fact that you're not going to prison. Big victory for you. The fact that we're not going to try and criminalize you anymore is a big victory for you. Don't look at us and what we failed to do. Look at what you've won there. This was a good win you got, and don't lose sight of that. It's a big deal winning this case. It hasn't even been confirmed that there's no appeal made yet. And he's telling me I've won the case. If I've won the case, give me back my money. But they can't do that. Why? Because, look, the matter is up today remotely to deal with the issue of costs. Once the time period to appeal expires, you will get the return of the bail money. It is still open to you to issue plenary proceedings to challenge the constitutionality of the legislation. Compensation hasn't been mentioned once. What's costs? Costs can cover anything. Is he talking about his own costs? Will he fail? Will the court fail in their schedule to pay him? Do you think he would accept that? Do you think he would accept the court failing to pay him, or the state failing to pay him? Do you think that they'd forget that in the schedule? But they forget the testing of the constitutionality of sections, which is of great import to the Irish nation, and how the ordering of society on a very molecular level, in terms of down at citizen interaction level, and they fail to address it. When it's the whole hinge and reason for an adjournment in the circuit court. They're supposed to test something. It's called certiorari. They failed. All they did was say, actually, you were treated unlawfully. Off you pop. This was a good win you got. And don't lose sight of that. It's a big deal winning this case. How did you win the case when you failed to actually address the basic schedule? How can that be called a victory? This is basically incompetent of the man calling himself my solicitor and of the Irish High Court. This cannot be accepted on any level. These people need to fulfill their roles in this case. They expect to be paid. They need to do this according to the Irish Constitution and according to the schedule. They're saying it is still open to you to issue plenary proceedings. We've done that. That's been done. These proceedings to test the constitutionality of the legislation are already done. That has been submitted to the High Court of Ireland. Why would I have to do it again? They're saying in an appropriate case that this is an open question to be tested in an appropriate case. What more appropriate case? They're failing. Look at the degree of the corruption in this country. This was a good win you got, and don't lose sight of that. It's a big deal winning this case. Let's get it today out of the way and ensure the matter is not appealed. Hold on a second. You just said I won. Let's get today out of the way and ensure the matter is not appealed and we can regroup. These people can't even think straight. They can't even talk properly. They can't even think in a logical sequence. How can we expect them to be trustworthy in these simple matters? You've won, but let's get today out of the way and ensure the matter is not appealed. If you can't see that this is basically corrupt, then you have completely lost sight of logic and reason. This must be addressed according to the Irish law, according to what was scheduled already in the High Court. They cannot fail to address what was brought before them. It has already passed into the courts. It has already reached the schedule of the High Court. Therefore, they must, according to the law, address the issues before them. Whether they do it in that case or the next, they must do it. To say that it's open to me to issue plenary proceedings is incorrect. They've already been issued. They already must address what's before them. There is no more appropriate case than when you actually have somebody involved. There's a plaintiff, there's a respondent. They already have the appropriate case. They're just failing to carry the conclusion through to its logical implications affecting those legislations because they don't want to remove them, because they don't want to show that they've made the mistake, that they don't want to show that Irish citizens can come, bring things before the High Court and actually have them seen and checked according to the Constitution. They need to do this. The conclusion that the judge gave already shows that these legislations are unconstitutional. They must apply that logically, and they must do it. I don't need to bring this again. This has to be done right. Let it be done in Jesus' mighty name, because the Irish public have a right to see things done properly according to the law. Now, I want to show you my most recent message to Council, because this is very important. Hi Cormac, you told me that the constitutionality of Section 7, 115 and 117 would be scheduled for the testing of their constitutionality. You failed to schedule the testing of the constitutionality of Section 7 without telling me. Then, after the judge's conclusion and ruling, you tell me that the testing of the constitutionality of Section 115 and 117 was abandoned midway, even though you told me nothing of this before the judge's ruling. Now you tell me I have won the case even before it has been shown that no appeal was made to the judge's ruling. You failed to bring Section 7 and the court to effect the schedule by testing the constitutionality of the sections, even though the Circuit Court adjournment was based on the High Court so doing. Nothing has been finalised as yet, but you tell me I have won? What victory have I at this stage? All parties, you and the High Court, have failed to communicate and fulfil what was said would be fulfilled. Now you are saying it is up to me to have the constitutionality tested. That's la la land. Even though the judge's conclusion already exposes the unconstitutionality of the same sections. Where is the victory, Cormac? Is it a victory to have a 2-year ban from my rights? To spend 1 month in prison? To have my reputation libelled and slandered in the community? To have my reputation to be prevented from seeing my daughter? To have my counsel fail to bring the entirety of what they said they would before the court? So again, to have my counsel fail to bring the entirety of what they said they would before the court, is that a victory? Then fail to communicate that the court were abandoning the schedule? To be told I have won or been victorious when all of this has been left on my lap to pursue, even though it was abandoned first time? How have you done right by me or the Irish public? How has the court done right by Ireland and their office? This is unacceptable by any reasonable or lawful standards. Section 7, 114, 113, 115 and 117 must be tested as was set out and as was requested by a citizen of the state of Ireland. Why section 113 and 114? Because they actually mentioned in 115 and 117 as giving 115 and 117 their meanings. They're both the mechanism and the meaning of 115 and 117. So you can't test 115 and 117 without testing 114 and 113. That wouldn't be comprehensive. Section 7, which is what I asked Cormac to bring, and he agreed would be pertinent to bring. Section 7, 114, 113, 115, and 117 must be tested as was set out and as was requested by a citizen of the state of Ireland. That was motioned. The court has failed in its basic agenda and schedule without reason. They haven't given any reason as to why they failed to fulfill the schedule. That's unacceptable. That's like a carpenter standing at your front door, the handout to be paid. I thought you were supposed to build the cabinets. You can bring the building of the cabinets forward. Money? Well done for money. Don't lose sight of your victory. Money? You'd say, you'd close the door. But this is the High Court of Ireland. They're the only place to go to have this tested. They must test it. It's not like they can run away and hide. They're the High Court. The judge's name is on the conclusion. The sections are written into the schedule. They can't run away from this. It's on courts.ie that they've abandoned what was before the court, scheduled before the court, and now they're putting it in my lap again, saying you can have it tested. I know. I brought it already, and it was in the schedule. Are people seeing the level of corruption here? I mean, they can't hide it anymore. The court has failed in its basic agenda and schedule without reason. This is unacceptable and nonsensical. I mean, you'd expect better behaviour from a bunch of 5-year-olds. It must address and correct. It must be addressed and corrected at once, according to Irish law. This must be done. You all need to take this seriously. As it is, Jesus Christ's power that is being opposed. He is the one that institutes all power on the earth. I will not be used as a pawn to give the impression that I won when the hideous legislations remain untested. When the conclusion already exposes the unconstitutional nature of those sections, but still claims that they weren't tested. That's chicken head stuff. That doesn't make any sense. That's foolishness. And these people are educated. They've passed their exams. They can't play unintelligent. They can't say I have a low IQ. I don't understand basic mechanisms of law, basic logic. They can't do that. I will not be used as a pawn to give the impression that I won when the hideous legislations remain untested. You must know what has occurred, Cormac. Speaking to my own counsel here. In Jesus' mighty name, let it be done right. Jesus is Lord, and all powers are instituted on the earth by him. Let it be tested. This is a ridiculous misuse and abandonment of proper proceedings, even in the High Court of Ireland, to try to bury a testing of the constitutionality of sections 7, 113, 114, 115, and 117, and put it back in the lap of somebody they tell has a great victory today, even before it has been shown that appeals haven't gone through. Can't give you back your money yet because it hasn't been finalised, but well done on your victory. Don't lose sight of the victory. Well done. They're not even talking normally. Now, if you don't see that there is a demonic spirit involved in those governmental offices, you need to open your eyes. Let Jesus rebuke that evil spirit. Let it be removed from the governments of Ireland and all the earth. Let them be removed in Jesus' mighty name, and let it be seen that Jesus Christ still reigns in the heavens and that his power and authority can still move entire governments. Be rebuked, Satan. Jesus is Lord. Let it be done according to his will and purpose.